Right, joined once again by Cameron, local Edinburgh whisky expert, for another tasting. This time we have a independently bottled single cask of Bunnahabhain, bottled by the Chorlton Whisky Co.
Absolutely.
Bunnahabhain, is this a distillery that you're fond of, one you've tried a few times before?
Yeah, Bunnahabhain's one of my favourites actually. Certainly from that region, Islay, because it just stands out so much.
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of that sort of odd distillery producing mostly unpeated whiskey on an island that has, you know, made its reputation producing smoky.
Yeah, I think being an Islay distillery and trying to stand out when you're competing with Lafroig and Ardbeg, Bowmore, Lagavulin, you need to do, something pretty special to hold your own.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Bunnahabhain has, maybe because because they are a bit different, has developed maybe a slight cult following. Particularly people within whiskey, those sort of in the know. You don't hear many bad words said about Bunnahabhain.
No, I think it's for me it's that their sort of ability to experiment with different casks. You know, there's been a Bunnahabhain in every single cask imaginable.
Yeah.
Some of their previous malt masters have really put that effort in to make sure that they're experimenting with those different casks. And then we drop right back down to Bunnahabhains that are matured from bourbon casks or matured from sherry casks, and there's that sign of quality right across the board for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think for when I was new to whiskey, I almost struggled with Bunnahabhain as a concept, because I was like, there's so many unpeated distilleries out there.
Yeah.
Why, Islay's the smoky island. What's the point of a non-smoky Islay whiskey?
Yeah, it's jarring, isn't it?
It's jarring. It just doesn't fit this nice region system.
Yeah.
And it is commonly used as an example of why the region's system is limited, because they are an exception. They definitely don't fit with that, typical Islay character.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think you can pick up that it is an island dram? Obviously, there's not that strong smokiness to it.
There's sometimes some of that sort of maritime element, which you can pull out of Bunnahabhain, that slight sort of salinity to them. That would indicate seaside at least. And with Scotland having over 900 islands, then it's a fair shout to say it's been matured on an island.
Yeah, absolutely. But this one, as we said, is an independent bottling. So this cask of Bunnahabhain was purchased by the Chorlton Whisky Co., who were founded in 2017 in sort of the Manchester area. Independent bottling as a whole, do you rate independent bottlings?
Massive fan of independent bottled whiskey. It just gives the consumer a different take on these whiskies, So something that maybe doesn't necessarily fit the portfolio of the brand, but is still a mesmerising cask. If it falls into the right hands and if it falls into the right bottler, then it gives that consumer, it gives us a chance to try something just rare, unique.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're usually done as single casks, which means there's less than sort of 400 bottles of each. So it is that snapshot of what the distillery is doing at that exact moment in time.
Yeah, and if you don't like it, it's gone. It's all out.
Exactly. Exactly. We move on. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, very excited to try this one. So we'll open it up and see what it's like.
Right.
Right, so this one, as we said, is an 18-year-old single cask bottled from a sherry butt. Now, what can we take from that? Can we assume it's been in the sherry butt the full 18 years? Or is that a wild assumption?
I think it's more safe to assume that with independent bottlers, certainly. They're usually buying a cask, and it's more common than not that they will leave that cask to mature for its entirety almost. it's a butt, so it's one of the larger sizes of casks that is used in the industry, which has given this whiskey a beautiful colour, but not maybe not the colour we're expecting after 18 years in a sherry cask.
It's a long time. I think the term single cask and the labelling of a single cask is still quite open-ended.
Vague.
Quite vague.
Yeah.
Open to exploitation.
For sure.
This one, as we said, is bottled from a single sherry butt.
Yeah.
But there's no reason they couldn't have taken 2 half-empty butts or 4 bourbon casks and re-rack them into a sherry butt. We don't know. And there's, we can maybe contact Chorlton. They might tell us. They might not tell us.
I think with independent bottlers, that re-racking is almost something they're more proud of sharing. Because it shows that they've worked the whiskey and they've not just been lazy with it and bought a cask and bottled it.
Yeah.
So if they were to do that, it's maybe something that they would chuck onto the label.
Perhaps, yeah.
But yeah,
I think with sherry in particular, obviously, a dark whiskey sells better than a lighter whiskey.
Yeah,
so I think it's not uncommon for bottlers just to stick it in an active sherry cask for a bit, just to give it a bit of colour, which they maybe wouldn't admit to so freely. But anyway, well, let's give this a nose. We'll see. There's a few different things going on. We've got, perhaps some of that maritime character coming through. We've got, the age, 18 years in oak is a long time, and that sherry influence as well.
It's quite subtle.
Yeah, I almost feel...
For being cask strength, for being 18 years old and coming from that sherry cask, it's quite subtle, it's quite delicate.
It's bottled at 53.4%, so it's not super cask strength. So you get some which are north of 60%, which, an absolute rocket fuel. This one will be a bit, not quite as wild.
Yeah.
Bit of a tamer animal.
But no, definitely that maritime quality coming through. There's that sort of damp beach character that I associate with some Islay whiskies, some island whiskies for sure. It smells delicious. It's got that really subtle spice as well that you would associate with a slightly higher ABV whiskey and B coming from that sherry cask as well.
Yeah, but I think on the nose everything seems to be in proportion, which is great. There's nothing jumping out. It doesn't feel unbalanced at all. So let's give us a try and see. I think Slan.
Cheers. It's delicious. It's a lot more powerful on the palate than it is on the nose for sure.
You've got that real tingle on the finish, but I feel it's not like a harshness. It's not that sort of alcoholic prickle. It's just lots of, whether there's that sort of salty maritime influence kicking in, whether it's some of that sherry, some of the oak, obviously, from the aging.
It's
really lovely.
Big, it's thick, it's juicy, it's spicy. It's a delicious whiskey. I find this with a lot of Bunnahabhains is that they sort of carry their flavour very well as well. Being quite squat stills, quite heavily run stills. You produce that sort of oily character.
Yeah, kind of similar to Macallan, I suppose, that produces a heavy spirit that can withstand, aging and also sherry influence as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely not lost its sort of poise after 18 years. Yeah, I think it is the standard Bunnahabhain 18-year-old, the official bottling. Is that one you've tried recently? Do you feel there's sort of similarities?
Yeah, I've probably tried it within the last week, actually.
Right, okay.
quite fortunately. I would say that's amped a lot more up on the sort of flavour, the richness, the spiciness of it, and it's taken down. It's bottled at 46.3%, so it's a little bit more approachable in terms of alcohol. But I think this is what independent bottlings are all about. It's about that, different take on whiskey from the same distillery with a same age statement on it, and to be honest, a similar style of maturation as well.
I think sometimes independent bottlers can be too experimental, and they probably thought, shall we make this completely different from the standard 18 and put it in a cognac barrel or something mad. But standard Bunna 18's lovely. And having this, you know,
so solid.
At a higher strength, obviously perhaps with a touch more sherry influence than the normal one, potentially. It's, as you say, it's a great example of what independent bottlings are all about and what they can do. So I'd say anybody who likes Bunnahabhain, likes 18-year-old, there's no reason why they're not going to love this.
No, not at all. It's a beautiful, lovely, rich, slightly spiced, very fruity style of whiskey from the Bunnahabhain distillery.
Yeah, and at that strength of 53 as well, it's drinkable.
Super approachable.
Probably could get a bit merry if you had several of them. But it's the sort of thing, you know, if you prefer it with a touch of water, it's going to change that complexion as well. But yeah, a great dram, and a nice one to stumble across.
Delicious. Thanks for sharing that.
No problem, pleasure. Cheers.
Cheers.